I took the lighthouse job for the silence. After a decade of city noise, horns, people, endless chatter, I wanted the kind of quiet that pressed against your chest. A friend of mine knew a man who handled maritime contracts, and one drunk night I sent my application. The pay was good, the location remote. It sounded perfect. A week later, I was standing at the edge of a rusted dock, waiting for a supply boat to ferry me to the lighthouse that had been standing since the 1800s. It didn't even have a name anymore. On the documents, it was listed as Station 19A. The locals called it the Lantern. When I asked the ferry captain how long it had been manned, he said something that didn't sit well with me. Used to have a keeper, he muttered. Not for long, though. What happened to him, I asked. The man shrugged. Storm took him. Storm takes everyone out there, he said. The island was more of a jagged rock than land. The town rose from its center, wrapped in iron railing and seaweed. The wind howled through every crack, carrying the salt and decay of the ocean. Inside, the living quarters were cramped. Bunk tables, small stove, and a radio that hissed static. The maintenance manual was a binder of yellow pages, each filled with meticulous notes in shaky handwriting. The name signed at the bottom of the last page, E. Marin. I was told he was the last keeper before automation, but someone had to come check the system runs every few months. Make sure the generator worked, clean the lenses, log visibility. Easy work, I thought. For the first week, everything was fine. My only company was the rhythmic pulse of the beacons sweeping over the water. Every few seconds, the light would blink, a perfect rotation, a steady heartbeat in the dark. But then I started noticing something strange. The light pattern was off. It wasn't random, at least not entirely. I realized it followed a sequence. I didn't know Morse code well, but I'd done enough in the Navy to recognize repetition. Short, short, long, pause, short, long, long. One night I got curious. I dug through the old logs and there it was, Mavin's notes, scrawled hastily in pencil. The pattern repeats every night, doesn't match the manual, might be deliberate. Deliberate, but by who? That night the wind howled harder than the usual. The fog was thick enough to raise the sea. I was about to turn in when the foghorn below the tower bellowed once, twice, then paused, and then again. It wasn't random. I started counting the intervals, jotting them down. When I cross-referenced the timings with Morse, I froze. It spelled my name. C-H-R-I-S. I laughed it off and said it must have been a mistake. The generator's timing must have been off or glitched, or the storm must have been playing tricks in my ears. Still, I didn't sleep much that night. Over the next few days, the weather worsened. Waves slammed against the rocks and the gulls vanished. I kept hearing the foghorn repeat, sometimes faintly, sometimes like it was coming from miles away. And then the messages changed. Turn the light on. It was already on. When I checked the beam rotation against the logbook again, I realized it had changed pattern entirely without my input. I climbed up to the lantern room, checked the motor controls. The switch was locked. That's when I saw it. Far in the distance, past the fog line, something flickered. A light, too small to be a ship. 1, 2, 3 flashes. Pause. Then again, someone or something was answering back. I tried to radio mainland control, but the channel was static. Every time I turned away from the static, I'd catch the faintest cracks of words. Turn the light on, then silence. By the fourth night, I wasn't eating. My reflection in the window looked wrong. pale and stretched. Every time the light rotated, I swore I saw shapes in the fog, figures standing knee-deep in surf, unmoving like they were waiting for the light to pass over them. I started marking down the time of every flash, every signal. It became an observation. I wanted to prove it was mechanical, that I wasn't losing it. Then I found something in the basement. Behind a loose panel near the oil drums, there was a metal box. Inside were several old logbooks, Marin's handwriting. The last few pages were smeared, water damaged, but I could still make out lines. It read, "They keep calling back. The light's not ours anymore. It's not signaling ships, it's summoning them." I flipped through the last entries. The very last page only had 2 words, "Welcome back." That night I dreamed of the sea pulling itself upright, rising like something alive, reaching towards the tower. The air in my room tasted like metal. When I woke up, the beam was still spinning but slower, deliberate. I looked through the glass and froze. Down on the rocks below the tower, something was standing there. It looked human enough, but the arms were too long and the head tilted unnaturally. Every time the light swept past, it vanished. When it came back around, it was closer. I backed away, grabbed the maintenance axe, locked the hatch. I didn't sleep. At dawn, I went to check. The rocks were bare, but the hatch at the base of the lighthouse was wide open. I should have left then. I should have radioed for pickup and waited it out, but when I tried the radio again, the same voice came back through, clearer this time. "Chris, welcome back." It sounded like my own voice. I killed the generator, shut everything down, even removed the fuse from the beacon motor, but that night, at exactly 3:14 a.m., the light turned on again by itself. I climbed to the lantern room to disconnect it manually. The gears were moving slowly, smoothly, but there was no power. The wires were dead. And outside, across the dark ocean, the answering light was blinking again. This time I grabbed my old navy code sheet. I watched, recorded every flash. When I decoded it, I felt my stomach drop. It read, "Open the door." I didn't. I stayed in the tower until dawn. When daylight came, the ocean looked wrong. It wasn't calm, it was still. Not a single ripple, like grass, and under that grass I could see shapes moving, drifting upwards. Human shapes. Human shapes. I packed what I could, but the supply boat didn't come that week or the next. Days blurred together. My food ran low. I started hearing footsteps, wet ones, coming from below the floorboards at night. Sometimes when I'd shine my flashlight down the stairwell, I'd see a reflection looking back at me from the dark. One morning I woke to the sound of the foghorn again, only this time it wasn't spelling anything. It was mimicking my heartbeat. I went to the window and the figure was there again, standing directly beneath the tower, looking up. It lifted a hand, long webbed fingers, and pointed towards the door. When the next flash of light swept over it, I realized it was wearing my clothes. That was 2 nights ago. The generator's dead again, but the light won't stop. The radio won't turn off. Every few minutes it repeats the same words in my own voice. "Turn the light on." There's knocking downstairs now. I think Marin was right. The light isn't guiding ships. It's calling something home. And whatever it is, it's already here.